Here at the Pink Grape, I interview winemakers from all over the world. Our purpose is to have fun, be entertained, discover new wines, and meet great people. I hope you will join our journey around the wine world by subscribing to my channel. If you like this video, please be sure to hit that like button, share it with a friend, and please enjoy the interview. Stefan, welcome to the show, The Pink Grape. It's a pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm very glad you were able to do this, joining us all the way from Australia, which is pretty cool. I'm here in Kentucky, USA, and I believe it's actually Saturday for you right now, and it's Friday night for me, so that's pretty sweet. But I'd like to dive, actually I was on your website a little bit and saw a little bit about your story, and you're actually sixth generation winemaker. And my first question to you is going to be, how did you become a winemaker? But after reading that, I kind of have an idea.
Yeah, you're pretty right. Family expectation, I think, is a bit of a driver, but you also have to have some sort of passion. I seem to recall I had my first attempt at trying to make wine at about the age of 11. Only white worked for me. I found that white was okay. When I tried to translate that into red and do the fermentation on skins, I made a lot of vinegar, not wine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good for the salad, huh?
Yeah, I don't think it was even good enough for that.
No, but I bet you got a little better since then, and that'll lead us right into our next question. Is tell us a little bit about your wines.
So what most people are familiar with out of our winery or our stable is the single varietal fortified wines made from Muscat of Petit Grands Rouge and Muscadel. So similarity in name, but very different in terms of varietal aspects and characters. So they're both fortified styles of wine, and a fortified style is one which has not only had alcoholic fermentation conducted by yeast, but you've also had an addition of grape alcohol to bring that final level up to that 18%. So they're pretty consistently around that 18% because of that addition, versus your table wines where all your alcohol is derived from fermentation, so you can get a variation from year to year.
Right. So is the most popular form of that a port wine from Portugal? Would you say that's fortified?
Yeah, port wine's fortified. So is also Madeiras. Madeiras are fortified as well. Your sherries are also another fortified style, but just slightly different. So they're fortified. So anything that they add alcohol to. So there's other styles of wine else around. So anything that has had alcohol added to it as part of the winemaking process is a fortified wine.
Gotcha. That's very interesting. How come you decided to make fortified wine?
Well, it's not really me. I mean, you touched on it before, 6 generations. So the style of wine got arrived at before I even arrived on the scene. And it's a historic thing, realistically, because people back in the 19th century were probably used to drinking a lot more of your whiskies and brandies and rums, so higher alcohol products anyway. With your whiskies and your rums are a bit sweeter too. So to mimic that in terms of the grape form, and you needed something which could be transported over long distances without deteriorating. And so the wine version of that is making these fortified, akin to your ports or your Madeiras, or in our case, these Muscadels, these single varieties, Muscats and Muscadels. And so that's where we've come from. And that's what I'm continuing, because I'm the 6th generation. So it's continuing that sort of work.
Sure. Now, what would you say is your signature touch to the wine that you're doing compared to what your father did, your great grandfather? I mean, what's unique about what you're doing, how you're continuing the legacy?
Well, I suppose because I'm dealing with, everybody, as time goes on, all your conditions change, your vines get older, you get a bit more experience. The climate's, gradually changing around us. It never stays still. There's never 2 years. And so some of the things that I'm probably doing in difference, my great grandfather and grandfather, even my father, didn't have the ability to chill the wines like we can now. They also possibly didn't have access to some of the equipment we have. So I'm being able to utilise technology to make cleaner wines to age into barrels. So So it actually has better, and I'm able to clean the barrels better than what they could. And so as a result, you're ending up with hopefully a better end product. It'll be slight, but still on the basic same premises of what they did. So no acid adjustment, no additional finding to remove any other elements or sedimentation or anything like that. So the basic elements are still there, but just being able to use some of the more modern techniques to arrive at the same endpoint.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's a great point, is the fact that the technology in winemaking and the winemaking process has really developed, and you got a lot more tools in your tool bag than perhaps your grandfather did, right? So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, but sometimes the other part of that though is that some of the research is just justifying why some people have been doing it for 50 years. They started to do something 50 years ago and they kept doing it because it worked. Then 45 years after the fact, the piece of research paper will come out and say, this is what you should do. And somebody says, I've been doing that for 45 years. You've just told me why it works. I knew it worked, but now you've told me why.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. You've been in the wine industry a long time. What would you say is your favorite memory from being a winemaker and being in the industry?
Favorite memory, there's quite a few of them. I couldn't actually really put it down to one particular things because yes, I've been an actual winemaker as such for over 20 years. But I'd been working in the wine industry before that for ever since I was a young child. I suppose one of my quirkiest memories was I used to be able to manage the cellar door on a Saturday morning when my parents went out and would go and look after the sheep, because we had farm as well. So you can't do that nowadays. You can't have a 10-year-old boy serving you wine. You're not allowed to do that. You've got to be responsible, and that means you've got to be overage to do that. So they've taken that. The fun police have got in the road.
Yeah, I saw on your website as well. You guys do have a farm. You have a lot of sheep, it looks like, and you're actually feeding the sheep the leftover grape skins after you press them and get all the juice out of it, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's a ironic thing, because people say, with all this sustainability that's going on and about trying to do the circle of usage and not putting anything to waste and utilize everything. That comes up there. So what do you do with your grape muck? Do you just put it in a pile? Do you compost it? And say, no, we feed it to the sheep. When do you do that? Pretty much as soon as we finish with it, we put it out to them. And I read in the last couple of years that they found that some animals fed that sort of material actually reduces their actual their methane emissions themselves. So it actually has an effect on that side, but it gives them a little bit more nutrients. We are lambing it. Our sheep are lambing at the period that we are harvesting, and so we're able to provide them that sort of stuff to give them an extra bit of supplement. So
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about Victoria wines, like wines from Australia. What makes them unique, special, different compared to the rest of the wines of the world?
Well, no two places are the same. I think that's the first thing. It doesn't matter whether you are a vineyard right next door to another vineyard. Just that slight difference in location will change everything. And of course, we are on the other side of the world to where you are. We're in another hemisphere as well. So obviously we've got different climatic factors down here than what you see up there. The continent itself is a lot older. It's got one of the oldest geological rocks, and our soils are degraded. So we've got a completely different set of things that we have to deal with in relation to just the production. And so that lends it to a completely unique style, unique characters coming out of the place. So what makes us unique, historically wine regions established because you had enough rain, occurred at the right time, and you had soil suitable for growing grapes. They're the three criteria that you required for an historic wine region. Nowadays, with irrigation and things like that, you don't need that rainfall occurring at the right time. but you need a ripening season that's not wet. You know, so that rainfall still has to be at the right time. So
that's a great point. I mean, wine represents place, right? Because it's all about the vineyard, it's all about where it comes from, and like you said, no two places are really the same, even if it's a vineyard next door or the valley next door, right?
That's right, and realistically, you know, there are obviously places out there which do multi-regional blends, or they put, you know, they do so much work with the grapes. It's sometimes a bit hard to either tell the variety or its provenance. But you know, most of us, you know, are trying to honour where the wine comes from, honour the variety as well. And so that makes that unique proposition that no two wines are the same and no 2 years are the same.
Well, great, Stefan. It's been great hearing your story. Really appreciate you being on the show. I always like to end with the one question, and that is, what is your favorite thing about wine?
The favourite thing about wine is the joy of knowing that you've made something that other people like.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great point. Amazing. And people are trying something all over the world that you're making, which is also pretty cool. Perfect. Well, thanks, Stefan. We will put your information in the description below, share it on social media so everybody can find you and reach out to you and try some of your wine.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony.
All right, Stefan. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
No worries. Pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this week's interview with a winemaker. Be sure to tune in next week as I'll be interviewing another winemaker. I hope you will join our journey around the wine world by subscribing to this channel. Be sure to like this video and share it with a friend. We'll see you next week. Thank you.